it for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
all in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the fall!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Coupe Stanley pour les Canadiens. Le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup!
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Bittt.tb. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro on this Tuesday, April 11. It is 1 minute past 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the Sick Podcast is brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group. Look at the shirt, passion and energy. That's what those guys, my boys, my friends, Sean Gerard and Mike Cinquino and their entire staff are all about. Passion and energy. Energy Transportation Group is a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America. They are driven to be different. And as we speak right now, my buddy Sean Gerard, one of the co-owners, has one eye on YouTube Live. He's got one ear listening to me, and he's going through his daughter's hockey schedule because it seems like she's going to be in Europe next week, going up against some of the best players of her age group in the world. Good for her. Now, if only he would tell me her name, I would be able to give her a personalized shutout instead of somewhat of a generic shutout. But I'm sure it'll come in any second now if all goes well, because I got my phone here, and Sean, send me a text message so I can actually say your daughter's name, because I'm very embarrassed to say it just slipped my mind right now, and I just forgot it. I'm sorry. I'm very happy for her. She's going to have a great time. It's a great experience. And, of course, also brought to you in part by the Geloso Beverage Group, who distributes La Bittt at Tibi. Brewed in Quebec, a winner of a dozen international awards, La Bittt at TV offers quality microbrewery beers made with premium ingredients for everyone's taste. La Bittt at TV, embrace your true nature. And a special hello to my buddy Aldo Geloso and my friend Ted Farace and Fred Sartor over at the Geloso Beverage Group. Tonight is Tuesday, and on Tuesday, we don't have a regular collaborator. We have like a revolving door of people, some here, some there, some everywhere. But I got a text message a while back from my buddy George Laraque, who's a regular contributor on Thursday nights, and he says, "Can I do Tuesday?" And I said, "Of course you can, George. This is your show. Are you kidding me or what?" I say hello. You say hello to George Laraque. What's going on, nephew?
What's going on? Hey, Tony, first of all, congratulations on all the weight loss. This is amazing.
Thank you.
Congrats. I'm proud of you.
It's, 21 pounds in 16 days. I'm happy, but I've been told from a lot of people a lot wiser than me that the work is actually keeping it off and not taking it off. So I'm happy I took it off, but now I want to take off more. And I want to keep it off. But listen to me. Nobody cares about my weight loss. Let's get to the Montreal Canadiens. And I appreciate the kind words, George. Thank you. We have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, but hold on. One thing I want to say. Could you believe the Penguins lost to the Chicago?
You know what? I'm going to tell you something.
This is crazy. What's going on in this? What's going on in this league? The Penguins will be out of the playoff.
I can believe anything that happens in the National Hockey League. And I'm going to tell you this, okay? I'm going to tell you this. I thought Pittsburgh, and we're going to get to the Canadiens, but since you brought it up, okay? I've been thinking this for a while. George, how many teams go through winning and then they avoid a rebuild and they continue to win for like 15 years? It's very rare, okay?
It's
Boston
rare.
is still doing it since 2011. To tell you the truth, I don't even know how. You got to get lucky, and you know what? Bergeron has had a long career, and all that stuff, and Marchand's had a long career, and they have a culture there. But the Pittsburgh Penguins, George, they won their 3 cups. And at one point, they had to rebuild. And you know what Marc Bergevin says, right? You want loyalty, you buy a dog. And I know that it's not an easy thing to trade Sidney Crosby, and it's not a popular thing that I would say today. I know that. I know that it's honorable to have players of that stature start their careers and end their careers with the same team. But for the good of the Penguins, I really believe they had to trade Crosby, they had to trade Letang, and they had to trade Evgeny Malkin.
But you know what, though? But you know what, Tony? I think this could potentially cost the job of Ron Hextall. Because the trade, if he doesn't trade Petrie for Madison, they're not fighting for a playoff spot. They're in. That trade was so bad. He made some bad trade. This team was supposed to make the playoff.
Yeah.
Just the fact that they didn't do it, it could cost his job. They're not happy with him in Pittsburgh. Well, they're not happy with Hextall, and they're not happy with Petrie.
George,
I can't wait to see what they're going to do in the offseason. But the Penguins are not getting any better. They're getting older. They have to get the best that they can for their stars players now. And if they didn't make the playoff this year, next year, Buffalo's there. Buffalo is there next year.
George, so, they traded John Marino and Michael Matheson in their prime. The Pittsburgh Penguins and Ron Hextall, they've blown it, man. They have really, really blown it. I'm going to tell you something. You know who the next general manager is going to be of the Pittsburgh Penguins, eh? I'm willing to put money on it.
Bill Guerin?
Marc Bergevin.
Oh, yeah, he played there.
He grew up with Mario. They played for the Villemart Hurricanes together.
Yeah. And Mario really liked him.
Mario,
that's a good guess. That's a really good guess.
That's I just made your show tomorrow, bro. You make my podcast every now and then. I just made your show tomorrow.
You know what? That is something that I could bring up. I like it.
Marc Bergevin from The Point. Mario Lemieux from Rue Jacques in Villemard, played for the Villemard Hurricanes together. That was the connection, by the way, when Jean-Jacques Daigneault got the assistant coach's job to take care of the D with the Canadians. Larry Robinson's name was thrown out there. They put off a meeting.
But hold on. Let's make a deal, okay?
Yeah.
I'm gonna make it as I'm gonna use it in my show tomorrow, but don't use it tomorrow morning.
I won't.
I want to use it. I want to use that too. If you use it, I won't be able to do it.
No. I'll make you use it. Okay. You go for it, okay? And once again, and yes, Marc Bergevin played for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Hold on a second. Which mutual friend do Marc Bergevin and Mario Lemieux have? That Mario Lemieux is like this with him, and Marc Bergevin is also like this with him. Who else?
That I don't know.
Pat Brisson?
That I didn't know.
Pat Brisson, super agent. Pat Brisson, best of friends with Marc Bergevin, best of friends with Mario Lemieux. They all know each other. Look, and listen, Mario Lemieux doesn't need Pat Brisson to be friends with Bergevin. Or Bergevin and Mario Lemieux are friends. They go way back. They used to play hockey together in their youth. But Marc Bergevin, they're being, working with the Los Angeles Kings behind Rob Blake. He's still in the game. He wants to get back to being a general manager in the National Hockey League. He obviously has an extensive knowledge of the Eastern Conference. You would think that Marc, would learn from his mistakes. And listen, I'll say this. Marc Bergevin will make for a better general manager of the Pittsburgh Penguins than Ron Hextall has made. Yeah,
that wouldn't be hard to do. Even you would, too.
Well, I'm not so sure I have the qualifications for that, George. But anyway, I just got to move this big bottle in a second, okay? It's just my mouth dries up every now and then. Pardon me.
It's awesome to see you drink water, and other than seeing you drink.
Distilled water, by the way, with pink Himalayan salt in it and some lemon. But anyway, okay, let's get to the Montreal Canadiens. Arber Xhekaj has met with members of the media, and a real interesting comment. He talked like a lot of analysts have been talking ever since, he was getting into fights often. At times we're scratching our heads, George, because the timing wasn't right. And Arber Xhekaj tells members of the media, you know what? Being away, I've learned a few things. I realized a few things. I'm not going to change. I'm not going to back down from anybody. I'm still going to defend my teammates, but I'm going to be wiser about it, choose my spots better about it. The injury that happened in that fight with Desharnais was a stupid injury. And, he says he had a conversation with his parents about having a long career. So he says he'll be wiser about things next year. Before we get to this, George, let me ask you this. As a guy who did this job and did it great, and that's you, when should a player fight?
Okay, so first of all, man, I'm gonna have to talk to this guy one day or another because he's a bit lost. I listened to some of the stuff that he says, and I don't know who he's talking to, but they're not helping him.
What did he say that you're saying?
I'm gonna talk to you, Arber Xhekaj, because you're gonna hear about what I'm gonna say right now. When you're a rookie,
yeah,
and you're making your mark in the NHL because people don't know you yet. You shocked the world by making the Canadiens. You deserved it. You worked hard. You bring the dimension that the team needs. But the thing is, you have to establish yourself at first. A rookie cannot say that you're picking your spot and you have to be smarter. You make a name for yourself. You make people fear you. That's why you went with everyone. In the first couple of years, it's normal that you go a little bit more. Because what's going to happen, Arber, is that now your rotation is already pretty solid. Next year, you won't have to go as much because players will fear you, teams will fear you, and it's going to be easier. But it's normal in the first year, you take all up-and-comers. It's normal. The thing, though, Arber, that's going to happen, though, next year, even though you say that you want to be smarter, there's going to be a guy that's going to be gunning for you. And I know because of the job that you have, you're going to have to go anyway. The injury that you got with Desharnais was just bad luck. It's going to happen. You fight, get into a fight, you will get hurt again. That's inevitable. That's the nature of the sport. What we do is the toughest job in sport. You could play hockey, you could do great things, but there will be people that come see you. Ryan Reeves is going to come.
Stupid question. Is there something that he did or didn't do that he got hurt, or that's just freak accident? Like,
okay.
what do you do to avoid
first of all,
your shoulder
first
coming
of all,
out?
because the way that he's not fighting well. He's not standing well. He's not holding his arm well. His technique is not good, and I have to show him because if with the reach that he has, if I teach him the right techniques, nobody's going to touch him. He does not fight well. He's strong, but he doesn't have any technique. When you don't have any technique and you fight with somebody that is as strong as you are, because a lot of guys in the league that are strong, you're going to get hurt every time. So there's a couple of things he still has to tweak. But there will be guys that will go after him next year. Ryan Reeves is going to go after him. Like, I know that he's going to go after him, knowing the way that he is. Delorier is going to go after him again. Desharnais is going to go after him again. There's a guy that's going to go after him, and he's going to show up.
So hold on a second.
Like
are you saying that he made his name so much in this first year prior to the injury that Ryan Reeves, the king of heavyweights in the National Hockey League, will want to give him a go? That's how much Xhekaj impressed?
Ryan Reeves and McDermott are going after him for sure because, first of all, Ryan Reeves is alone. He's bored. There's no one to fight in this league. And he loves to put on a show. And every time you play the Canadian, it's packed in the stands because they have lots of fans. And knowing that, that Xhekaj is the new sheriff in town, knowing the way that Ryan Reeves is, he's going to go after it. They're fighting for sure. And if I don't see Xhekaj before he fights him, he's going to get in trouble. Because Xhekaj is too wide open the way that he fights. He's not defense enough.
So the Canadians next year, they go up, and they play versus Reeves. They play versus McDermott. Why should he fight them? He's a better player than them. Why should he take himself? Why?
Because they're gonna go after him, and he has no choice. If you think he's gonna cower down, once you put yourself in that category, you can't back down anymore. You have to show your teammates that you're not afraid of anyone. If he doesn't fight Reeves next year, when we've asked him, the whole league's gonna think that he's afraid of him, so he's gonna have to. Even if there's no reason, he's gonna have to show up, and Reeves is gonna go see him.
Okay, but educate me on this because you can. Okay. If you tell me, Tony, if Reeves goes after him and he doesn't want to fight, Reeves is going to go after some of the smaller players on the Canadiens, and he's going to start hitting Caufield. Hold on a second. Then I'm going to tell you, okay, George, you should fight. But if you tell me no, he has to fight because he doesn't fight, then the rest of the league is going to think he's scared of him. Who cares, George?
No, Tony. First of all, you know what's going to happen after the game? There's going to be a scrum, and all the media is going to ask him why he didn't fight him. Everybody's going to ask him about it. Why didn't you fight him? Were you afraid? What happened? He knows that. You're in Montreal market. You can't turn that down. You can't. You know. You think somebody would ask Arber Xhekaj, why didn't you fight Ryan Reeves? Are you afraid? Oh my God!
Are you afraid of him?
Of course, somebody would ask him that. Because but Tony,
if somebody asks him that, he should
Tony,
knock him out.
Tony, you remember what he said? Xhekaj talk. The thing that he said after he fought Cassian, when he talked about himself, about the job and how he saw himself in the league, how he wasn't afraid of anyone. There's things that he said that went around the league. You have to back him up. When you talk like that, people are listening and they're like, okay, we'll see. He's said things in the past. Now he has to live by them. And he can live by them. He could do it. That's why he said it. But man, there's guys that'll be waiting for him. And he has to fight him again because he got hurt fighting him, and he has a point to prove. So there's interesting thing that's going to happen next year. And also next year, Xhekaj is going to have more. He's going to have more challenge now in the blue line with the Canadiens because there will be guy pushing to be in the lineup, and I'm talking about Mailloux. Mailloux should be in NHL next year. You know, Montreal has a lot of great prospect at D-man. Xhekaj is important, yes, but he's going to have to fight to stay and be a regular because Montreal, their depth at D is one of the best in the league. With all the prospect coming up and you have Hudson and company, they have a lot of great D-man.
So you're talking about, when you used to, this is the way it is, right? When a guy comes in and he shows what he can do and he talks and he says a few things, then he's going to want to be challenged, yada, yada, yada. I'm going to read you a comment on YouTube Live, and I'm not going to read it to offend you. I'm going to read it so that you have an opportunity to respond and you can educate this person watching, okay? Keith Green says, laugh out loud, Laraque is wrong. The game has changed so much. I mean, he has no clue anymore. So what do you say to Keith Green, who says, no, George, it was probably like that in your time. It's not like that anymore. What do you say to that?
Okay, so that comment is so dumb that I will answer it because you asked me about it. More normally, if I see comment like that on Twitter, I ignore it. Because clearly this guy has no idea what the game is and doesn't understand that role still, and still doesn't see that there's a code in the NHL. And even though there's less fighting than there is before, people still live by the code. And he doesn't see that. He doesn't understand that. This is part of the code, Tony. Things has changed, but it doesn't matter. When you talk, because I'm talking about what Xhekaj have said, about how he's not afraid of anyone. And everyone that comes close to his player and hit him, they're going to answer to him. He said that. When you say that, and I don't know if I've told you that, Tony, before, but
tell me.
Anything that you say in the papers, every day, players, you get clips. You get clips of what all the articles, all the stuff that's been said. You know, the media gets every day, there's there's a bundle of sheet of paper that are stapled together. It's for press media, and every day, everything that is said to all the teams in the paper sport, it's all clipped in one file. Players, they read that all the time. All the time. They know what's going on with every team. You play a team and you know what's been said in the paper, or the thing that is said in the article. It's funny because everybody always say we don't know what's going on in the media. They don't know. They say that because they don't know answer any question. But guys, they're all on social media. They read, they know everything. So going back to Xhekaj, everything that he said went across the league. And all the tough guys across the league got these quotes sent to them about what he said. And I know that just the way that they are, they cannot wait to see if it's true and how tough he is, and they're going to be look for him. And they're going to study the way that he fights. They're going to study his weakness. They're going to do that for sure. Ryan Reed loves it, and he always puts on a show. And that green, well, when he plays the Wild, you will see. Because I love Xhekaj. I love him. But the way that the job, the way things are, he's always going to have to answer the bell because he's put himself in that position. Yes, there's less fighting than back then. But back then, Tony, there was a code. And today there's still one. And there's always going to be one. As long as there's hitting and fighting, there's always going to be a code in the NHL.
All right. Let's call it the code red, by the way. Okay, let's call it the code red. Now, I have to ask you, did anyone ever tell you to go out there and give you the code red?
No, nobody has done that.
No one?
I would myself. I had Michel Therrien as a coach. He loved fighting.
Yeah.
When I wanted to go out there, I would tap him in the leg. Michel would start laughing on the bench. And even if Crosby and Malkin were on the ice, I would push the winger out of the way and I said, get out. Everybody knew what I was going to do. I've never had a coach that ever had to tell me what to do. The only time I had a coach that prevented me of doing it was Jacques Martin. When I had Jacques Martin and things were going on in the ice, I said, put me out there. He's like, no, George, it's okay. He'd leave me on the bench.
Really, eh?
Nothing would happen. And then media after the game in the scrum would be like, what happened? How come George was not there, whatever? He never once said that he didn't want to. He didn't like fighting.
No
He didn't
coach
want
in the
that.
National Hockey League ever ordered the code red.
No, never. And I'll go even further than that.
Yeah.
One time I played in Edmonton, Ron knows the coach. And they were talking about back then in the days where there's tons of fighting.
Yeah.
Ron knows the coach. I'm playing St. Louis Blues. I'm on the bench. Tony Twist goes on the ice. We have the last chance. I tap Ron Lowe on the leg. I was like, put me out there. And he's like, are you sure, kid? He wasn't even going to put me out there because it was Tony Twist. I was like, yes, I am sure. I went on there and I went to fight Tony Twist. And I went back on the bench after the 5 minutes was done. It's like, man, you have balls. Good job. No, I've never had a coach. Tony, I was known as one of the best enforcers in the NHL.
Yes, 100%.
And to have that reputation, coach don't have to tell you when you have to go. No, they don't have to. You know when. Yeah. And and actually at one point I was so feared that I didn't have to do it as much. Guy like me, guy like Brashear, guy like Bugard, guys like that were so feared. You think guys wanted to fight us? You know how many times, Tony, I'd go in a face-off in front of a guy in front of me, and it's like, George, I'm gonna ask you a question, and could you just shake your head and say no? I was like, no problem. And it's like, George, do you have twins? And I would like, no. And then he went back to his bench, said that he asked me to fight, and I said no. Stuff like that, Tony.
One of my favorite movies, by the way. One of my favorite movies, A Few Good Men, The Code Red. One of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
Colonel Jessup, did you order the code red? You don't have to answer that question. I'll answer the question. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. Son, we live in a world that has walls, and those walls have to be guarded by men with guns. Who's going to do it? You, Lieutenant Weinberg. I have a greater responsibility than you could possibly fathom. You weep for Santiago, and you curse the Marines. You have that luxury. You have that luxury of not knowing what I know, that Santiago's death, while tragic, probably saved lives, and my existence, while grotesque and incomprehensible to you, saves lives. You don't want the truth because deep down in places you don't talk about at parties. You want me on that wall. You need me on that wall. We use words like honor, code, loyalty. We use these words as the backbone of a life spent defending something. You use them as a punchline. I have neither the time nor the inclination to explain myself to a man who rises and sleeps under the blanket of the very freedom that I provide, and then questions the manner in which I provided. I would rather you just said thank you and went on your way. Otherwise, I suggest you pick up a weapon and stand the post. Either way, I don't give a damn what you think you're entitled to. Did you order the code red? I did the job. Did you order the code red? You're goddamn right I did.
Tony, did you memorize this or you read it?
George, it's one of my favorite movies of all time, George.
Tony, if you keep losing weight like this, you're going to convert yourself as an actor, because that was impressive, man. That was more impressive than the weight that you've lost.
You know what?
Wow.
I've never won an award in my 20 years, and I thought that was worthy of something. But anyway.
That was so good. I'm giving you an Oscar. That was so good. I was impressed. Tony, I was impressed.
You're goddamn right I did. I love that movie.
You gave me shivers. You gave me shivers, man.
I love any movie that Demi Moore's in, by the way.
Whoa.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Whoa.
That was fun. Hey, your show. This is funny now, and I'm going to tell you why it's funny. All right.
Okay. No
was
problem.
This earlier today with Norma Flynn? Was this today? I would imagine.
Yes, it was today.
All right. Today. With Norma Flynn earlier today on Le Monde de Georges at BPM Sports, which is weekdays, Monday to Friday, 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Listen carefully.
C'est sûr que faut que tu fasses ce trade-là, faut que tu ailles le chercher. Arber Bedard, ça va être un joueur de concession. Ça va être le gars qui va représenter le visage de l'équipe pour laquelle il va jouer en attaque dans les prochaines années. Moi, regarde, c'est un no-brainer. Pour moi, c'est un no-brainer. C'est un no-brainer. Je te dis pas que les deux qu'on a, il va falloir que tu payes cher pour le donner, là.
Oh my God. You know why I love this guy? Because he just, you know what? He's not shy to trade away young players. Like, he's just not. He's traded away Suzuki. He's traded away Caufield. He's traded away Slafkovsky. And now that Suzuki and Caufield are still here, you want to trade him again. Hey, if Norma, God love him, because Norma and I were together for a long time.
I love Norm. Hey, why do you think Why do you think I ask him these questions when I talk to him?
He's great radio. But if Norma was the GM of the Canadiens, he would trade Suzuki, he would trade Caufield. Then a year or two later, he'd go back and reacquire them. So 2 years later, he could trade them again. Says Papa, man. Says Papa.
That was so good. But
so this was what? This was your question? Was that it?
No, it's because there's a listener that called in and he's like, you know what, George? If Montreal don't win the lottery, we should trade Suzuki and Caufield for Bedard. That's what he said. And then when he said that, I told him that it's a fair question, but I thought it's too risky for Montreal to do so. And it's too much. If Bedard ends up being like a McDavid, yes, but you don't know that. And in Montreal, you cannot make that mistake once. And second, you push the reset for another 2-3 years if you do that. And it's like, it doesn't matter. People in Montreal would want to. And we did a survey. And believe it or not, Tony, it was 50-50. Half of the population, half of people that love the Canadian said they would do it. And the other half, they wouldn't do it.
But
what do you think? What do you think of that? What do you think of that?
Any team that has the first, and so now this stuff, like as Mark Bergevin said, like not even PlayStation, this stuff would happen. All right, but
actually, it happened with Lindros, so anything could happen.
You know what? Great point. It happened with Lindros, but do you remember that trade?
Well, I don't remember the specific everything, but I just know that the most important piece was Fosberg. The most important piece was Fosberg. Just Fosberg for Lindros straight up would have been fine, but everything else that they give, obviously, Colorado won the trade. They won the cup not long later because of that trade.
So if memory serves me well, okay, Ron Hextall was part of that trade.
Yeah.
Right? Steve Duchesne was part of that trade. Peter Forsberg was part of that trade. Mike Ricci was part of that trade. $15 million was part of that trade.
Yeah.
I also believe, I could be wrong, I also believe Chris Simon was part of that trade.
Yeah, possible.
Now, Sammy, who's a Flyers fan, and at Master Control, Sammy, if you ever want to bring it up here. But anyway, on that note, so it was a listener who brought it up. It's not Normand that was just throwing it out there just because he felt like doing that today.
No. A listener brought it up to me the night before. And when he brought it up to me the night before, I was like, man, I'm going to ask Norm that question. And I know for a fact he's going to say that he would do it. And that's why I asked him the question. I said that I wouldn't, but I knew asking him, he said that he would because of the past, like how he's never afraid to trade the young players. So I asked him the question, but Tony, if I ask you the question, would you do McDavid against Caufield and Suzuki right now?
Of course.
Okay, me too. Now, would you do Bedard against these two guys right now at the draft?
I would.
Oh yeah, see me, I wouldn't because I'd be too afraid of the risk that I think Bedard's potential is more like a Mitch Marner, and Mitch Marner, I wouldn't give him for Suzuki and Caufield.
That's a good way of looking at it. That's a good way of looking at it. Look,
I don't think he's McDavid potential like over 100.
I'll tell you the way I looked at it. Okay, and by the way, we all know that this would never happen. Okay.
Yes.
The way I looked at it is that I take a look at the Canadians and they obviously have a lot of young players and they're trying to build something, right? Yeah. So by getting a Connor Bedard who would be on an entry-level contract for the next 3 years, as opposed to players, one that's going to be at 7.875 for the next 7 years and one who might be at around 8 million for who knows how long, maybe even up to 8 years after that. That's one of the biggest reasons why I would do it. All right. And then, but it obviously, you end up shoring up a position and then you end up getting two holes. So I can understand the 50% that didn't want to do it. I thank you for your time. Okay. Thank you for your time. Send me a text message.
Hey, bro. Tony, hold on. I want to see how good you are. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you outside my window. You're going to try to guess where I am. Okay.
Okay. I'm not good with this stuff though. Are you at La Tour des Canadiens?
No. Come on. Look to see if some of your listeners, if they know. Where am I?
You are at... are you downtown?
No. Look for your text messages to see if they know. Your listeners.
Are you in Montreal or not?
Nope.
You're in Vancouver?
Nope.
You're in New York?
Yes, I'm in New York.
Ah, you're in New York. Wow.
Yes, I'm in New York because
no, but you threw me off there because I assumed you were in Montreal. So I was like, where is he? But
tomorrow I'm doing a shooting day with PK Subban tomorrow all afternoon, and I will fill you in later what we're doing. We're doing something special, and I'll tell you later on the project that we're working on, and I'll keep you updated later.
You'll say hi to him for me.
Oh, well, of course I will. He loves you.
No, I'm not so sure about that. I'm not so sure about that. Look, we had a great relationship. He's a gentleman.
Yeah.
When I was in Toronto in the off season, I sent them a text. He met up. He met the family. I have a lot of time for PK. One of the most exciting players to play here in the last 20, 25 years.
Yes,
I loved watching him play. When he was here down the stretch, when he left, as you know, George, right? We're members of the media. We have players in that locker room and members of the organization that whisper in our ear. They whisper it and they want us to repeat it. So I was getting one side of the story, and I repeated the side that I was getting. And I think he took it badly. I think he took it badly.
But you know the two players that got him out, right?
Oh yeah, I know who got him out.
Who?
Well, Pacioretty was a big part of it.
And the second one?
Also on the team or in coaching or management?
On the team. There's
Brendan
two players.
Gallagher?
Yes.
Yeah.
These two guys got him out. Hey Tony, before we go, another thing I want
listen to me. I want you to say hi to. I want you to say hi to him for me.
I will tomorrow.
I want you to give him my best, and I'm happy that he's doing well. And you know what? I think he's going to end up being the first analyst, hockey analyst, to make. He's
the Stephen A. Smith of hockey.
Yeah, and that's who he's being mentored by, right? And he's being mentored by Stephen A. Smith. They've had a lot. He's a very intelligent guy, and he's gonna make $5+ million talking about a sport that is probably the number 4 sport in the United States, maybe even number 5. And he'll make $5+ million a year talking about that sport.
Yeah, that's true. Hey Tony, another thing I wanted to ask you before we go. Carlson, hands down, we give him the Norris, right?
I think you have no other choice. I mean, what he's doing at his age, picking up the points, I think you have no other choice.
Okay, the question I have for you, does the NHL has to step up next year and add another category for the defensemen? Best offensive and best defensive defenseman.
1,000%. Erik Karlsson's going to win the Norris, but he can't defend. 1,000%.
Yeah. Okay, we agree. That's good. We agree.
Hey,
and look, I got the pillow for you.
Wow, you make souvenirs everywhere, eh? The pillow in Montreal, the pillow in New York. Tell me the truth. It's just you and I now. All right?
Okay.
Nobody else. Okay? When we hang up, are you going to smash that pillow? Bye, George. Be careful. There's bed bugs in New York, George. Be careful.
I'm kissing it.
Oh, my God. I don't know how I'm going to sleep tonight. I got this terrible visual. Talk to you soon. Take care.
Okay,
Have fun.
bye.
Say hi to PK for me. All right, ciao.
Yeah.
All right, okay. There you have it, George Laraque. We got a treat for you tonight, all right? We got a treat for you. Because last night we were off for, of course, Easter Monday, and then Yellow was celebrating with his family. And I want to let you know as well, it was in Yellow's birthday on Saturday, right? So he had a chance to catch up with his family. And, they combined, I think, a birthday party and an Easter celebration. We were off. Well, Eric Engels of Sportsnet and Sportsnet.ca is a regular on Mondays. So instead of, skipping the week to talk to Eric next week, Eric says, hey, you know what? I'm available tomorrow. And I said, yeah. Well, I got George Laraque, but I said, you know what? We'll do George the first 30 minutes, and we'll do you for the next 30. Eric Engels, good evening. How are you? You there? Emozitumo now, Eric.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
All right.
I can
hear you. Slim.
You're
slimming out.
Yeah, slowly but surely. But look,
slowly but surely.
It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. So I'm not gonna, let's.
I saw something about 21 pounds in 16 days.
21 pounds in 16 days. Yeah. But
What marathon are you running that fast?
I'm the type of, I've actually done zero exercise in the last 16 days, to be honest with you. And you know what? Look, by the way, I recommend exercise. All right. If you can do it. And I'm not saying that but Eric just said it. Eric's been down this road too. You've lost a lot of weight, folks. I've realized, like 80 to 90% is in the food. I mean, at one point, the workouts are going to put you over the hump. Yes. But I mean, if you're going to go to the gym and you're going to burn 500 calories and you're going to end up eating 3,500 calories a day, you're not losing weight. Okay. So it's just educating. It's just basically education.
What have you been doing? 21 and 16 is serious.
So look, really I'll say it now because I divulged it actually on social media. I joined the weight loss program out of Toronto called Apex 31. And I'm not going to get into all the fine details. All I can tell you is that it works not on counting calories. It works on basically body chemistry. Okay. So what you have to do is is you have lunch, you have supper, there's no breakfast, you're 18 hours off, you're 6 hours on, but in those 6 hours on, there's no snacking, there's no eating in between, all right? There's lunch and there's supper, okay? And then you have to follow a very certain formula, which is, having X amount of meat or fish per day, X amount of fruits per day. You can have unlimited vegetables. You got to drink so much water. You obviously got to take supplements and vitamins and stuff like that. But you know what? That's it. Yeah, water is key. You got to drink. The more you drink, the better it is. And I'll say this. Look, I'll say this. I wasn't planning on doing this, but I'll do it anyway. I'll grab my phone. Okay. If anyone wants to join, all right, you can go to apex31.com. All right. Or you can call this number 1-844-747-0175. I don't know if Sammy can put it up. Maybe Sammy can jot it down and then bring it up after. 1-844-747-0175. And if you enter my code, you'll actually save 10%. And my code is AM2729.
So you know what I think the whole thing is? You know what I think the whole thing is, Tony? Like, it's great that you're doing this. You believe in something, you're doing it, it's working, you're seeing results, so it's easier to commit to. The big thing is like just a habit. Whatever habit it is that you end up forming, as long as it's a good one, it's going to lead to good results. So there's 100 different ways to skin this cat. Yeah, and I guess you're doing it your way, and it's working. So keep it up.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I'm very happy about it. But in my world, I want to lose like another 60 more. So
I'm concerned about your vision, though. You don't recognize MSG when George was showing it to you?
You know what? I haven't been in a while. When was the last time I was in
Madison
New York?
Square Garden. That was a dead giveaway.
Yeah, no, but you know what it is that I just, not to make any excuse here, I didn't even think of New York because I thought you're in Montreal, right? He did a radio show today. I didn't hear about him leaving or wasn't whatever. So I just figured, okay, Montreal. But but I haven't been to New York in a while. But I love New York, though. I really, really love New York.
I feel like New York loves you, too.
Yeah, thank you. All right. You know the whole story behind Tony, eh? The whole story behind Tony. Well, supposedly,
Tony Marinaro? Like you? Are you referring to yourself in the third person, or?
Yeah, no, but there's a story behind. Tony is that I think when it has to do with something about to New York and Tony, but anyway, I don't remember the story. So anyway, let's move on.
To New York.
I got to talk to you about something. Okay. I got to talk to you about something. Okay. It was a couple of weeks ago that I said that it was the Montreal Canadiens' plan to announce Cole Caufield to a contract extension before the season was over.
I've been hearing about this.
Okay.
Yeah. This has been coming up to me.
Okay. This is the information that I've been given. This is the information that I was given. I can tell you that a couple of weeks ago, what I know is that there were Zoom calls going on all weekend. Zoom calls between Pat Brisson and Kent Hughes. Zoom calls, I would imagine, from Pat Brisson to Cole Caufield to make him aware of the entire situation. Back to Zoom calls with, this is what the agents do, right? They talk to the general managers. They throw out some numbers. They go here, they go there. Then they go back to their client. They say, okay, this is where we're at. What do you think? Okay, this is what we're going to do. This is the strategy that we're going to take. Okay, boom, we're going to go back and okay, so now the season ends Thursday. The players are going to clean out their lockers as late as Monday.
No, Friday.
As early as Friday, right?
It's happening Friday.
So it's happening Friday.
Perfect. And we can confirm now that people still use Zoom. I'm happy to hear that.
Yes, they're definitely using Zoom.
They're using Zoom. Got
it. Well, maybe they're using Microsoft Teams. I don't know, but I know that they're using, now.
Okay.
Cole Caufield is on the ice. Cole Caufield is skating. I don't think this is no coincidence. Okay. I think they want the images to go out. I think they want the fans to see it. And I understand that if they announce a Cole Caufield contract extension before the season is over, it takes a terrible season and it ends it on like a positive note. Hey, Cole Caufield's going to be a Hab for the next 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Okay. Having said that, we're now Tuesday, 10:44 p.m., and there hasn't been an announcement yet. Are you hearing anything? Because I know you hear a lot.
This is one of those things that I don't think really anybody is hearing anything outside of what you said yourself. If you heard something to the what is that, olives in there? Are you drinking a big martini? What's going on?
No. It's 4 liters of distilled water, and there's some lemons in there. Go ahead.
Lemons. Okay, that's very good for you. It's good for your gut health. Listen, I'm not going to lie. This is not one of those things that I'm really hearing about, and I don't think really anybody is. I don't doubt the information that you got. There's a lot of buzz within the marketplace. I don't know if it emanated from your podcast or if other people are saying it or whatever, that they're hoping that a deal gets done before the season ends. I don't really see the end of season as a delineation point or a deadline target for this to get done. Typically in big, difficult, I don't even want to use the word difficult, but typically in negotiations, they come down to the wire and to the deadline, because that's when there's actual pressure on to get a deal done. And I think that real first pressure point is not even, July 1, he's a restricted free agent. It's the beginning of training camp. That's the first real pressure point. Now, would the Canadians and Cole Caufield like to avoid having to get all the way down to a deadline in order to hammer out a deal? I would like to believe so. These are two parties negotiating in good faith, both with an interest in Cole being a Montreal Canadian for a long time, whether that's 3 years or 7 years or 8 years. It's a long time. If they're able to get it done between now and the end of the season, that's a great note to leave on. Do the Canadians need it as a win in order to, spin something positive going into the offseason? I mean, May 8th, which I believe is the date of the lottery, is around the corner. So we'll see what happens there. That could be something exciting for Canadians fans to hang their hats on, regardless of where they land in it. But if they land number 1 or number 2, that would be pretty exciting, or even number 3. So I don't know, man. I don't know that anything is necessarily imminent, but I would imagine that conversations have taken place, like you're suggesting. I would imagine that they are talking about this, and it's an important dossier and a priority for Jeff Gordon and Kent Hughes, and certainly for Cole Caufield, who would love to, I'm sure, go into the summer and have all this behind him and just focus on one thing, which is coming back.
Like I said, I can guarantee you, I know for a fact that a couple of weeks ago, the negotiations were going on throughout the weekend.
I'm not surprised.
The entire weekend, there were Zoom calls nonstop, type of thing. Okay, or
Microsoft Teams, whichever one.
They actually thought that I think maybe they thought that they were going to be able to get. Are you concerned? Are you at all concerned if you're a Canadians fan that no? But listen, everyone knows that Caufield's going to sign a contract, right? But when I say concerned, I mean, Canadians fans will be concerned if Cole Caufield takes 3 years and he doesn't take 7 or 8. That's what I mean by concerned, okay? Because,
how will they feel if he takes 7 or 8 at a number that is, over $1 million more than what Suzuki makes a year? How will they feel about that?
Yeah, but
this is a negotiation, guys.
I understand that, Eric. But so even though for some it was probably inconceivable to think that a winger would get more than a center, or that Cole would get more than the captain. If Cole would sign a 3-year deal and he scores 40, 45, and 50, his next contract's going to be $10 million, and now he's going to be making $2.2 million more than the captain. So, I mean, if this deal pays $500, $600, $700, $800, $1 million more than the captain, the next one's going to be a lot more.
Yeah, but look at it from the other side, and the other side is, the cap, barring some sort of miracle, is going to go up by $1 million this summer. But this will be the last summer that the players are going to owe money still to the owners. And then the cap is going to jump significantly, and it's going to be measured up against a business that has grown exponentially since the pandemic, which nobody expected it to rebound to the level it has, and it has tremendously. So everything is relative. If Cole ends up on a 3-year deal that keeps him at a lower AAV than what he would make on a 7 or 8-year deal, and then the cap jumps up dramatically 3 years from now, and his number ends up being 10 million or 10.5 or 11 because he's earned it, well, he'll be worth that, number one, but the percentage of the cap he'd be taking up might end up being equitable to what it would have been if he was on a 7 or 8-year deal. So you ask me if I'm concerned or if Canadians fans should be concerned. I don't really think they should be. When they should be is if not only does a deal not get done between now and the end of the season, which again, I don't think there's any hard deadline for that to happen right away.
Mm-hmm.
The concern should be is he shows up or doesn't show up to training camp because he doesn't have a deal in hand. The concern should be that this gets to the regular season and he doesn't have a deal in hand. That would be concerning. But as far as what the number will be and what the years will be and what the contract will look like, I think we all know, and the Canadians certainly do, what kind of player Cole Caufield is and what kind of player he's going to be. He's going to get paid a lot of money, whether it's on a 3-year deal, a 6-year deal, a 7-year deal, an 8-year deal, whatever it ends up being. It's going to cost a lot of money, and it's going to eat up a percentage of the cap that hopefully gets smaller and smaller as we move along because the cap's going to go up.
Man, you're going to love this next comment that I'm going to read to you, but I'll get to it in a second. Before I do, a shout out to Playground. They have over 600 machines, poker tournaments, playground casino games, daily promotions, unmatched customer service. Why go anywhere else? Located just over the Mercier Bridge, only minutes from downtown Montreal. Are you ready for this?
Hit me.
We're talking about Cole Caufield. We're talking about the duration of the contract. We're talking about how much money. We're talking about this, how much of that. Ryan Baker via YouTube Live. He's still not proven, is his comment. Caufield's still not proven. To that, you answer what?
If you're the Canadians and you want to play hardball, you could make that argument. You know, you could say Nick Suzuki was on pace to score 92 points this season, and he's got 64. And just because Cole had 24 goals in the time that he was healthy, or was it 26? Am I off on the numbers?
I think it's
not
26,
a math,
yeah.
not a numbers guy. Anyways, you can make that argument if you're the Canadians and you want to beat them down. I don't think there needs to be anything contentious here between both parties. Like, I think they both want the same thing.
But Cole Caufield was scoring at a pace of like 49 to 50 goals or something like that, right? If
I
it was
know,
like 49, it was 48. So I
and
understand
Nick
Ryan's comment.
Was,
There's not a big sample size, but anyone who scores on a pace that he can finish with 48, 49, or 50 goals, like how many players can do that? Now,
yeah, he's
you've entered an elite company now.
He's also not a flash in the pan scorer. Like, this is what he has done his entire life. He shattered Austin Matthews' scoring record at the National Development Program.
Yeah.
And he has literally been scoring. His scoring goals has been his life.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like he's, Arturi Lehkonen, who had a ripping good season in the Swedish Hockey League, but only one where he scored a lot of goals. And then, or like Lars Eller, who people used to say, why can't he score more? And like, he'd never had a pedigree of scoring goals. Like, this is one of those situations where if you want to beat the player down over it, you could certainly argue that he's not proven yet, that even at a 26 goal pace or on a 50 goal pace over 82 games from last season to this season when he got hurt, that it's not necessarily as much road as you would need to garner a contract that'll be more lucrative than Nick Suzuki's. I have a kind of a counter question though, because I think if you know the player well enough, you know that he's going to score goals and he's going to score a lot of them. And if the minimum is 35, then there's a chance he can hit, 50. You're in good shape paying him whatever the number probably ends up being. Look at Suzuki. All right. Suzuki is going to finish with what? 65 to 67 points here. Okay. Yeah. It's not a dramatic jump up from where he was at 61 points over the last 2 seasons each. But like, if this guy was playing with Caufield for the entire season, I would have to think he's over 75. And if he was playing with 2 wingers of Caufield's quality, as most of the top centers in the league get to do, if you like take a look at some of the top centers in the league and who they're playing with, what do we think Nick Suzuki ends up with? Because I think there's a lot of people who look at his contract now, Tony, and they're saying like, oh, is he really worth this money? Knowing that, he's not killing it. We know he's not a Matthews or he's not a McKinnon, but he is going to be one of the best 2-way centers in the league and is going to score a lot more points, I think, per year with good wingers than people assume based on his production so far in the league.
No doubt in my mind, this is hypothetical. I mean, it didn't happen, so we'll never know. Cole Caufield doesn't get hurt. Nick Suzuki has Cole Caufield and or Kirby Dach to complement that line for an extended period of time for the entire season. He's a point per game. There's no doubt in my mind. I mean, if he's going to finish
not much in mine either.
If he's going to finish with 66 points, and there's somebody who thinks that he wouldn't have picked up an extra 16 points had he played the last 40 games with for Caufield and with the 30 games with Caufield and Doc. I mean, come on, of course he would have.
Yeah. So is Caufield proven to the extent that Austin Matthews is? No. Is Caufield proven in terms of what his potential is? It's a pretty safe bet, pretty sure bet. Which is why I say, I don't think this is going to become something contentious. And I think wherever it ends up, honestly, we'll never know, because if it's a 3-year deal, people will say, oh, they should have signed him for 8. And if it's an 8-year deal, they'll say they should have waited and they could have signed him for 3 at a lesser number and they could have been more competitive. One way or the other, it's probably going to even out. Like, honestly, we're talking $1 million kind of slide year over year for the player, and what it ends up being for 10 years if he signs for 3 and then 6, or for 8 and then 2. I don't think there's much concern to be had in this dossier. That's really my belief.
Hey, by the way, the Boston Bruins have beat the Canadiens 132 points by beating Washington tonight. They now have 133 points. That's absolutely good, eh? That's unbelievable. My God,
imagine they don't win the cup. Like, the Canadiens cruise to the cup that year, right? Like,
they have won 7 games in a row. 7 games in a row. I'm not going to ask you for your cup prediction just yet, by the way. All right, I'm not going to do that. So
ask me if I would trade Suzuki and Caufield for Bedard.
You wouldn't.
Listen, I never pretend to know more about the prospects than a lot of the people who are real experts on that, because I'm watching the NHL all season. Of course. The one thing about Connor Bedard is we've all gotten a really good look. What does Connor Bedard do best?
Eric, let me interrupt for a second.
What's the best quality of his game? That's my question.
Please let me interrupt for a second, okay?
Yeah.
Anyone that is on the Canadiens beat and covers all the games the way you do. So anyone who has a certain, like a similar work schedule to yours and pretends to know everything there is to know about the prospects, it's BS. They're all faking it.
I would take it a step further. Anybody who, there's a lot of internet experts out there who literally canvass YouTube and watch clips nonstop and read what everybody else has to say. And then all of a sudden they're an expert, and whoever their team picks is the wrong player and it should have been this player. Like, you need to see a player over a 5-year stretch to see how he improves from year over year. You need to see, there's over 300 viewings per scout in the room that goes into selecting a player. So I that kind of talk makes me somewhat nauseous, and I never pretend to be that guy. I'm never going to make my opinion on draft eligible players based on YouTube samples, no matter how many of that I've seen and no matter how many articles I've read.
Well said.
It's ridiculous. But Bedard, the one thing is, we've all seen Bedard. So my question is this: what is Bedard's greatest quality as a player? And he's got a lot of them. There's not even a question about it. He's got a lot of them.
His goal scoring ability.
Bingo. So, is he going to outscore Caufield by 10 to 20 goals a season? Is that what he's going to be in the NHL? Is he big and strong? And I'm not ripping down Connor Bedard. He is very clearly.
Great way of looking at it, Eric. It's a great way of looking at it.
Very clearly the best player in this draft.
I was looking at it a lot more for taking a look at the youth that they have, and when they believe that they can all come together as a team. So now you get a young player on an entry-level contract and all that stuff. Look, and I know it'll never happen. The team that has the first pick overall, by the way, they're not trading him for nothing. Never. And nor would the Canadiens, I don't think, have the courage to offer Suzuki and Caufield for the first pick. So it'll never happen.
So here's my view. And this is my view on it, okay? Part of me would absolutely trade those two players. If we're just talking about a trade in a vacuum, 2 players for 1, it would be very tempting to take those 2 players at 23 and 22 years old and trade them for Connor Bedard. But moves like this are not made in a vacuum. The player coming here comes to a team. And my big belief on Connor Bedard is this: in order to win in the NHL with those types of players, there are 5, 6, 7 teams in the race to get Connor Bedard. I'm going to tell you that the one team that I think he could actually win the Stanley Cup with is the Montreal Canadiens, because I think they're far enough along and have enough of the pieces that they could win within the 3 years that he's on entry level. Once he's past entry level If he's the type of player we think he's going to be,
he's going to get $15 million.
You can't win. You just can't. The Oilers right now, this is the best crack. I was on your show. It wasn't that long ago that I was saying they have no chance of ever winning. And then they got Mattias Ekholm because I didn't believe that they valued those types of players.
And then they got goaltending.
And they got some goaltending, and they got Mattias Ekholm. And defensively, they look a lot stronger than they did when we had that conversation. I'm going to tell you right now, I think they have their best chance that they are ever going to have while McDavid is doing what he's doing. But that is so almost impossible to bottle and expect that it's going to happen. Like it's Bedard can go to Chicago, and there's no chance, in my view, that within 3 years he's going to win the Stanley Cup. And if he doesn't, and he is the type of player we think he can be, they just won't be able to build the team around him that they're going to need. And I would say the same of almost virtually every other team in the race. So if you take Nick Suzuki and Cole Caufield and ship them out to get that player, are you going to be able to win within those 3 years? That's my question. And that's why it would be almost impossible for me to make that kind of move if I were the Canadians.
Yeah.
I also think that, coming back to my original question,
man, if they win that lottery, if they win that lottery, oh man, you have Caufield. And I know the temptation for a lot of people. I know a temptation for a lot of people would be to put Suzuki, Caufield, and Connor Bedard on the same line. But I would, in some home games,
do whatever you want.
And I would if I needed a goal. But
could have Dubois.
The logical thing would probably be to have Caufield scoring goals on one line and Connor Bedard scoring goals on another line. And then, geez, how do you stop the Montreal?
I don't know. It opens up every option you could think of if that guy ends up here. It's the same way you could look at any team that he'd end up on and say, wow, look at what this could be. Except you got to have a few of the pieces already. The Canadians have 3 of them up front. They have a defense that, honestly, within 2 to 3 years is going to be a really, really good defense. That is the backbone and strength of this team. They need a goaltender.
Yes.
They're going to need one. And no matter how good Montembeault has been.
You find goalies, though. You find goalies.
Yeah, you have to. But, yeah, I mean, like, I think people might look outside of this market and say, oh, Engels covers the Canadians. Of course, he's going to say the Canadians are the best team to get him and this and that. I mean, I think from an NHL and marketing
it's true.
It would be unbelievable to see him.
Gary's hoping he goes to Arizona so he can.
What
save
would you prefer?
franchise.
Connor Bedard ends up in Montreal with the Canadians, or he goes to Columbus? Like, I mean, come on. San Jose is one team that I look at, and Columbus has some good pieces coming up, by the way. But San Jose is one team that I look at and think that could be interesting if he ends up there in terms of, turning that around pretty quickly. But man, if you have Bedard here in Montreal, which I know Canadians fans are dreaming about every single day, and you have Suzuki, and you have Caufield, and you have Doc, and potentially you have Dubois, what else are you really looking for? You've got a lot of other ancillary pieces, guys like Raphael Harvey-Pinard. If that guy's on your 3rd or 4th line, you're going to be a pretty good team. You could be competitive within all 3 years of Bedard on entry level.
Yeah,
so
we got plenty of time. I'm not so sure you need Pierre-Luc Dubois if you would get Connor Bedard, but obviously, I mean, it wouldn't hurt. Maybe it would in terms of the salary.
Take everything you can get. Just load up.
It would be a great show. Speaking of which, Anthony Rodia invites you on his totally relatable tour. Come see the King Off the Boat comedy perform live on Friday, April 28th at l'Olympia. Audiences love Rodia's candidness about his personal life and razor-sharp observations on marriage, parenthood, road rage, everything else worthy of a social media rant. Buy your ticket now on Ticketmaster.ca, and you're guaranteed an evening full of stomach pains and tears of laughter. This is presented by Just for Laughs, and we welcome Just for Laughs on the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro. Thank you for your support. All right, okay. Before we let you go, because we've gone, it's 11:04. A quick comment on Daryl Sutter. Calgary Flames lose to Nashville last night at home in what was like a must-win game for them. They end up going to a shootout, and Tyler Toffoli, who scored 34 goals and 73 points, is their best goal scorer and their top point getter. They don't get to him. Elias Lindholm is number 2 in terms of goals and the points. They don't get to him. They don't get to Mangiapane. They don't get to Dylan Dubé. He ends up putting out there Nick Ritchie, who I think's had 5 shootout attempts in his life and has 4 goals this season.
Yeah,
thus far.
The logic was okay.
And Sutter said he scored a goal in a shootout versus UC Saros before, and the game that wasn't played out there anyway. The game was played in overtime where we missed too many chances.
I don't even disagree with that. I would have personally turned to Toffoli, and I know a lot of people said he's 2 for 17 lifetime in the shootout. But I also know who Tyler Toffoli is, and you put the game on the line, that's a guy who I want the puck on his stick shooting. He's the type of guy who steps up in those moments. He proved it here in Montreal. He proved it in Los Angeles.
Correct. Remember when Crawford didn't choose Gretzky in Nagano?
Yeah, right? Let's not compare
the
those
logic,
two.
No, and I'm not. But the logic back then was, you know what? Gretzky misses a lot of breakaways. Yeah. Okay. I would reckon that Wayne Gretzky scored at least 150 goals on a breakaway.
Yeah.
You know,
I would also suggest that tournaments on the line, I kind of want the puck on that guy's stick. And that's what it is with Toffoli. And I don't even disagree with what Daryl said. And I like Daryl. I really like Daryl. But the Calgary Flames lost 25 games by a goal this year.
30.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
They had 45 shots last night and scored 2 goals.
Their record 7-17 in overtime, by the way. Yeah. And I think half of those games, he started with 2 defensemen in the overtime period.
They had 5, they were facing the one goalie last night that you really don't want to be facing in that situation. They had 5 unbelievable scoring chances in overtime. But the bottom line is something is wrong in Calgary. How the hell is this team life and death 2 out of the last 3 years when they should be leading their division? They should be the best team in that division.
Eric, he's got Jonathan Huberdeau on the third line playing his off wing.
Listen, Calgary this year, the Flames.
That seems personal to me, man. I don't get that, man.
Going back to the bubble, going back to the year that the Canadians played them fucking 8 times, excuse my language, and it was literally the type of hockey that you would rather watch with your eyes closed.
Yeah.
It's just not. It just doesn't fly anymore in 20. I love Daryl Sutter, but it does not fly anymore in 2023. You are
He's
not.
Got to evolve.
He is not connecting with enough of those players to make the difference. That it got out into the media and became a thing is, if I was in that locker room, I would have felt very uneasy about it. I would have felt very annoyed that guys were speaking out, but that is a big part of your role as a coach, is to bring the team together. And that team has clearly had some sort of division, because look at how good the components are. The team, they lost Matthew Tkachuk, and that was a heavy blow. And Johnny Gaudreau was unbelievable and a big part of their mojo. And Sean Monahan, no matter how hurt he was a big part of the heart and soul of the team. But Uyghur, Huberdeau in, Kadri in, they didn't get worse. There's just, for them to go 30 games losing by a goal, for them to have their season hanging by a thread in a shootout and a 45-shot game, and for them to just be miserable all year. I honestly, that is the most tortured group of players and the most tortured fan base in the NHL this season. Having to watch this season must have just been a horrendous experience for Calgary.
With the exception of Johnny Hockey and Matthew Tkachuk 1 year ago, it's 3 years that I can't watch the Calgary Flames.
Last year they were exactly who they should have been 2 years ago and this year.
Yes.
They were unbelievable.
But 2 years ago and this year, they're bad for the game. 2 years ago and this year, they're bad for the game. They're not good for the NHL. They're the most boring team in the National Hockey League to watch. And you know what? They've had no success playing the way they have. Not in the playoffs when it counts. And this year, they're not even making a playoff. So, hey, by the way, Florida's qualified for the playoffs.
They're in.
Yeah, the Panthers are in. All right.
They better hope that over the next, couple games left in the regular season that they somehow don't end up against Boston in the first round.
You know what? Stranger things have happened.
Yeah.
I wouldn't bet on it, but I mean, that's the playoffs, right? Where upsets happen
at least they're hot. They're the hottest team.
Yeah.
You said Boston's won 7 in a row. I think Florida has won 6 of the last 7.
Yeah, that's not bad. Eric, 2 games left for the Habs. in New York versus the Islanders. And, of course, they host the Boston Bruins on Thursday. Where are you right? Oh, you're at home right now. Are you?
I'm at home. I'm not on the road for this New York game. Toronto was my last road game.
Okay.
I'm sure we'll be doing some playoff coverage at Sportsnet, but there's a lot to debrief in terms of the offseason for the Canadians, so we'll be on that. And I know your show is going to keep going, so I'm around.
Correct. The Sick Podcast is not going anywhere. I think our plan, and it can change, all right, but I think the plan is that, of course, we're going to continue doing what we're doing. We're going to talk Montreal Canadiens even when they're out. We're going to be able to, hopefully, we're going to be able to get some players on with the Canadiens, get some players on with the Rocket. We're going to talk to people in different cities that are covering teams that are in the playoffs. We'll talk to teams. We'll talk to reporters and people involved with teams that actually didn't make the playoffs. We're going to preview the draft. We're going to have a special draft lottery show on Monday, May 8th. And, we'll bring you all the way up until the draft. And then July and August, I think we're going to go on vacation. And we're probably going to do a couple of shows here and there, part-time. And then we'll be back, full pin back in September. But we're going on for at least another couple of months, 5 days a week.
Happy birthday to Agnello.
Yes.
And all the best to Sammy.
Yeah.
This has been fun, and I can't wait for the fun to continue.
Thank you, Eric.
We're going to have a lot to talk about.
Thank you, Eric. If Agnello and Sammy give me the night off, I'm going to go to the last game of the season, the Canadiens versus the Bruins, because what better way to end the season than the Montreal Canadiens versus the Boston Bruins? It would have been better in the playoffs, but it is what it is.
How many goals for Joel Teasdale tomorrow? He's a great story. What a great story that kid is. So nice to see he's getting a chance.
Yeah, very much deserves the call up.
Yeah. 2 or 3 years with the knee injury.
Yeah.
He splits his knee and then boom, it happens again to him. And catching fire in Laval and gets a chance to do this. That's a nice story.
Well, I hope he scores tomorrow night in New York, because it's going to be hard for him to score versus the Boston Bruins. Have a good one. Have a good night.
Take care.
All right. Okay. I'd like to bring Sammy and Agnello in if we can. Let's bring him in.
Yep. What's up?
All right. Hey, I just wanted to say once again, I mean, I know I called you on Saturday. Big birthday for you, right? I was not invited, unfortunately. And yesterday, I know that you had the family over, a big party for you, and I was not invited again, but that's okay. What can I tell you?
You were here today.
For me, what's important is that we're 50-50 on this venture, whether you want to invite me or not to the parties.
But you were here.
But I wanted to give a shout out, if we can, to Puca Dolce. Can we do that right now? Or
go ahead.
All right. There you have it. Puca Dolce. The key to Puca Dolce's success is, of course, its extensive network of specialty suppliers and farmers having exclusive Canadian distribution rights in many cases. So who are Puca Dolce? Well, they're my buddies. And what I can tell you is they bring in some amazing products from Italy. They're Agnello's buddies as well, including the Martinucci cakes, which come from Le Puglie. And I bring it up because Agnello yesterday indulged on the amaretto cake, on the tiramisu cake, on the ricotta and pera cake, and on the frutta di bosco cake. All amazing cakes. And if you want more information, there's the number, 450-969-5977. They're at 2355 Monte Masson in Laval. So hello to our friends at Puca Dolce. Their products that they bring in from Italy are just absolutely fantastic. And you see them more and more in restaurants all the time. I would say a big percentage of restaurants in our beautiful city of Montreal actually carry their cakes and their products and their Martinucci tartufos as well. All right. Okay. Cake was good?
Excellent.
All right.
Always good there.
It's 11:14. Are we good?
We're good. Let's go, man.
So why don't we do this? Thank you very much to everyone watching on YouTube Live, on Facebook Live, and on Twitter Live. If you enjoyed the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro tonight, hit the like button, share it with your friends, comment Sick right now on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter Live. Sick, S-I-C-K, S-I-C-K, S-I-C-K. Go to Google, Apple, or Spotify and leave us a 5-star review. It's our way, me, Agnello, and Sammy, of feeling the love that you have for us. And we want to let you know it is reciprocal. You love us. We love you. We're going to get together this summer. We promised you, and we deliver on our promises. We'll be back tomorrow night, same time, same place. They're Cavallaro. I'm Marinaro.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow The Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida Tibi. Embrace your true nature.